It's certainly a common challenge for everyone to navigate one's way through these stored impressions. So why is because of the way the human phenomenon is constructed. So most of the experience, well, actually the whole experience is perceptual. So if we look into that, we begin to recognize that as a perceptual field, all these references are stored as a construct of impressions. And the way that occurs in the biological system is through the nervous system and the subconscious field of our mind. Now, when we have the combination of a very intensified stimulus around significant key events in our life, our nervous system stores a very deep set of information. And that deep set of information appears to be like a hard wiring in the subconscious. So this means that actually every time you encounter anything that represents even mildly that set of stored impressions, the subconscious throws it up as a reference, which is why even though you are in a new moment and the past is gone, it seems as if you're still encountering what was past. It is literally impressional, imagery, and vibrational. So in order to move beyond these stored impressions, it's quite a process. As you know, we all know, as a spiritual journey and self-development and transformation, it seems to be almost as if it's a never-ending digging for a lot of people. Now, why is because, as I said before, the nature of the physiology, the way it's constructed, is one factor, but also because of the way we are actually meeting it or approaching that. In a way, if we think of this like links in a chain, and we keep referring to the shape, the size, and the place of the link, we keep digging back and back and back, trying to find its root in order to alleviate ourselves of it. But in actual fact, we have to really penetrate deeper than the so-called link and understand the nature of it. And that means we need to understand the nature of grief. We need to understand the nature of the holding of these identifications more so than make sense of the events themselves. Of course, along the way, yes, making sense of the events actually paves the way for us to get deeper and to discover the essence underlying that. So, for example, as a very universal reference to this, the grief that is stored in the impressions of the nervous system is actually but one little personalized story or example of collective grief. Now, that means that, yes, you have had your personal direct encounter, which is held in your nervous system, but actually it is associated with a deeper reference of universal grief. If we cannot get actually to that underlying source of universal grief, we continue to hold on to the personal story. And that means at some level, it's perpetual. You continue to identify with it, and it creates a feedback loop. Once you get to the underlying universal insight of grief, you come right back to the root cause of grief, and you are able to liberate all grief. So if we look at what is underlying the root of universal grief, it is actually the illusion of birth and death. It is the illusion of getting and losing. That's at the root of universal grief. So if you want to alleviate this personal grief and any experience of grief, ultimately you must travel back to that root and restore your conscious encounter of the timeless self, the unbroken self, the undivided self. Because when you restore that, you realize that actually what appears as coming and going getting and losing is actually nothing other than the waves rising and falling in the constant ocean of you. And when you realize this, you can't have grief for it. You are at peace with it. When you realize this, you no longer have a fight against birth and death. You realize you are the unborn, the undying. And until we resolve that, we do not truly live. So that's at the heart of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing such a sensitive experience as well. And my deepest acknowledgements to you in that. Thank you.